After Don Quixote returned to his native village and home at the end of part 2 of Cervantes' epic novel, at the end he recognized his madness and his true identity. This Cervantes deliberately did so that his great and revered knight of the doleful countenance might not pass into oblivion, so that Don Quixote could truly be immortal. What if Don Quixote were then truly immortal, that he continued to wander the dusty roads of La Mancha in Spain, Europe, and all the world, seeking justice for the downtrodden everywhere he went, leaving behind him a trace and memory of his being among all those whose lives he had touched and who really believed in him? What if, weary from so many sorties and adventures, he finally made up his mind to retire? What if he came to America, a land he had dreamed of for so many years? What if, accompanied by his faithful squire Sancho Panza, he were to find himself in the lovely state of Connecticut? What if he were to come upon the fair town of Southbury? What if he were to discover the serene, simple beauty and solace of Heritage Village?
I do not trust the directions we were given by that scalawag we encountered back there in town. I did not like at all that shifty-eyed look he had.
Sire, is it not possible that our appearance took him by surprise? After all, the directions he gave us are correct. Did you not see the sign that announced we are about to enter Heritage Village?
Sancho, when I reflect on how long and how far we have traveled, searching for a place of retirement.
Oh, Master, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you have at last ceased seeking adventures along the highways and byways of the world.
Friend Sancho, when I recall that moment when I fought those 20-30 giants on the plains of La Mancha,
God help us, your worship. I remember all too well those windmills.
Hold your tongue, blockhead. Fear prevents you from seeing things clearly, and they seem different from what they really were.
Perhaps so, your worship, but surely you recall that day we came upon some dozen men by foot, strung together by their necks like beads on a great iron chain, and all with manacles on their hands.
My good Sancho, I shall never forget them, and I will not forget how grateful they were when I helped free them.
Alas, sire, I myself remember all too well the aches and bruises they bestowed on us to express their thanks after they stripped us of our clothes.
Friend Sancho, one must be prepared to face the distress that comes to those who try to help the poor and the needy.
I allow that, sire, but still, as they say, no deed should go unpunished. I beg pardon, your worship, but since we were told there is no special lane for horses and donkeys, would it not be safer to move Rocinante and Dapple more to the right? Because from all the honking and shouting behind us, they are not accustomed to seeing the likes of us on this highway.
Oh, chariots of an evil sorcerer! A knight-errant will never give way to obstreperous ruffians.
Let not your peace be disturbed, O flower of chivalry. Rather, let us speak further of what has brought us to this beautiful countryside.
Sancho, yes. I will speak words of praise to the governor when we meet him and arrive there, and tell him I have chosen wisely my place of retirement.
Sire, when I think of the dreadful places that we have passed through, it seems we are approaching the gates of paradise. Surely you remember what we found when we came to Paris?
Oh, Paris, A fairer city I have yet to see. I was most impressed by that lofty tower.
Spare me, your worship. It is all I could do to restrain you from what you kept shouting was a monstrous giant, more fierce than any you had ever encountered.
That moment surely would have turned out otherwise, dear Sancho, if I had had my doughty lance and buckler at the ready, and had the silver helmet of Mambrino on my head.
Forgive me for interrupting your reverie, sire. To say it was our good fortune that you did not engage that tower in mortal combat.
Oh, that may be, Sancho, my dear Sancho. But what of the afternoon that we came across the sight of those tall windmills waving in the wind?
Fortunately, I had the good sense to remind you that we were on our quest for a place of retirement and could not tarry there.
But even so, Sancho, when we chanced upon that country fair and saw that pitiful pig being chased by a running mob of ruffians and bloodthirsty bumpkins, and I put an end to that suffering of that poor animal.
Sire, I still tremble when I think of how hard I had to struggle to protect you from charging into what turned out to be no more than an innocent game.
It was no innocent game, dear Sancho, when we came upon that country inn where I wanted to enter and find someone to dub me a knight, and in this new land which we have chosen, in which we will dwell.
Only too well, sire, do I recall that misadventure which befell us in that peaceful hostel.
It was not so peaceful, Sancho, in that disreputable tavern.
You must confess we were ourselves imbibing a glass or two of wine after our long journey.
You cannot excuse those ill-mannered louts who behaved so badly toward me when I simply proposed a toast to my lady Dulcinea. Never have I heard such raucous laughter and ridicule.
Nonetheless, sire, you ought not to have challenged them to mortal combat.
It was their good fortune I did not have my lance at the ready, or they would have paid dearly for their disrespect.
Nevertheless, it was only by the skin of our teeth that we were able to withdraw from that den of iniquity.
Am I mistaken, Sancho, or are we drawing near the place they call the Activities Building, where travelers can find information concerning this place where we have chosen to dwell?
Yes, sire, and I see a suitable railing where we can tie our mounts outside.
Yes, seest thou quite well, Sancho. Even the doors sweep open to welcome us.
Never